Wait. Okay.
Oh, is that recording now?
Well, let me stop because.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Green
Let's
is on.
start all over. Are you ready now?
We're live.
Oh. All right. For all of you live people out there, my mics are dead. All the mics are dead.
Bumper music.
Well, I guess you're wondering why we called this meeting. No.
See, you will be serious. Me, it's Christmas.
Good morning, everyone. This is Eddie Huff, Fresh Black Coffee with David Van Risingham and our good friend David Arnett. I'm overwhelmed with Daves this morning. Dave and Dave.
It's a
double D.
It's a Dave thing. We've been knocking off Goliath since Goliath was born.
We should have a wonderful show today.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun here in this studio. If we're sure we have all of our buttons pushed, and I think we do. By the way, Dave, you took off your hat. We've got a very festive and colorful David Van Risingham.
Yeah.
Mr. Arnett had his Santa hat on earlier, which...
Well, I do cheat a little bit on this because it's on a felt hat.
It's an updated Santa.
So I have a rim or a brim on that, but when it comes to winter, sometimes when it gets icy, both of the hairs on my head freeze. So I try and keep what I have up there left a little warm.
Yep.
So anyway, it's good to be with everybody this fine Saturday, a pre-Christmas Saturday morning.
Not hearing you in the mic.
You're not hearing you in the mic.
No.
I don't know why you're not hearing. You should be hearing you in the mic.
There you go. You turn the microphone on.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I've not been on this whole time.
Yeah.
See, it's always some.
Yeah, pushing the buttons. David here's great at pushing buttons.
I've got both of you. This is a reverse. I usually don't have you on.
Yeah.
This time I didn't have me on. Yeah. So thank you for that correction. Go. The rest of you may have heard me slightly through the other mics. Anyway, let me reiterate back up. Mm-hmm. Dave Van Risingham, co-host, and our dear guest, David. What's your name again?
Arnett, I think.
Yeah.
Starts with an A. That's David. Why they put me in the front of the class.
Rhymes so with darn it.
Well, and I appreciate the opportunity to come in because my reputation varies greatly depending on what side of which issue in what decade I planted a flag.
And what day.
And I have tried not to plant that flagpole in anybody's foot, but I have noticed in Oklahoma, some people have very large toes. So it's difficult to avoid them all.
There you go.
For full disclosure, Dave and I have been on opposite sides of each other at times as well. Nevertheless, I have to say, I consider him a friend, and I do consider his work good work. Okay, I do want to say that.
Thank you.
I thank you for that. That's never been an issue, and I think a part of the problem sometimes is people with strong opinions that we let our opinions override our emotions and things
or egos.
What?
Or our egos.
Well, I had a opportunity to sit down with the managing editor, he's going to hate me for that, executive editor of the Tulsa World for lunch the other day. And I began in part by talking with him about the fact that you cannot give offense in a free society. Offense can only be taken. In a free society where everybody is free to say whatever they want to, you cannot be offended unless you take offense. from that. Now,
Yeah.
I don't mean to, and don't, I believe, give offense. But if someone wants to pack it up and carry it from that point on, then that's their issue, not mine.
Yeah.
Right. And, speaking of the Tulsa world, it's funny, though, how they seem to only see offense one way.
Well, what was hilarious about it, when our conversation first began, he declared that the Tulsa World, in his opinion, was not a leftist newspaper. From that point on, it was a little bit difficult. I had to underspeak on some issues because I didn't want to
end up in fistfights.
A shy, innocent, retiring soul such as myself would never do that. However, I do remember back in the day, I had an opportunity to attend a press conference with Kathy Taylor when she was mayor, and I asked a question that may have been a tad bit pointed, and she referred to me as an equal opportunity aggravator. And I have taken that title and appreciate her for that identification for years, because I really don't want to leave anybody out if there's an opportunity to aggravate with some degree of style, grace, tenacity, good looks, and charm.
Okay, so like Larry Flint told his editorial board, the rule is offend everybody.
I'm not really trying to offend people. I'm not. It's not my job, though, to manage their internal feelings.
Yeah, that's a good point. One time, just last night, my wife and I are talking. She says, well, you came across as such. I said, no, you took it that way. It didn't come across. It's who's responsible for an emotional reaction.
What happens in my internal perception is my business and my responsibility.
Yeah. Hey, let's set the context for today.
Well, wait, let me say, I had to get back to a remark you made about offending people.
Okay.
Because it just reminded me of in my book. It reminded me to give you one of these before you leave. I have two versions. I have the all white version, and then I have the black version. So you're welcome to choose whichever one.
Yes.
But anyway, in the introduction, I say that if I haven't offended you yet, just wait, I'll get to you. But that's what you reminded me of, because it's the same type of thing. I go after everyone, and see, that to me shows that you're a fair journalist.
Yeah.
Honestly, if everyone is offended at some point by something you say, it shows that you're not pulling punches and you're not going to cover for someone, and that's what's lacking on both sides. I get upset sometimes by right-wing periodicals, television, radio, you name it, and so many of the posts, even on Facebook, blinded in a sense their political persuasion or their Christians too. I mean, in the Christian worldview, we can become so blinded sometimes by things that we don't want to see. It's like la 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 la.
Well, and it is part, to follow up on what you're saying, I believe that there is a tyranny of political correctness that we have suffered under in magnificent form for at least the last 4 years, if not the last decade, from the Clintons, the Obamas, to the Kamala, whatever her name is. She's gone now.
Camel hair,
yeah, camel hair, whatever. And you gotta love her, because she was the most incompetent candidate for political office ever.
Sure.
And yet she was put up there. Now, part of the discussion I had with the Tulsa World executive editor was asking him exactly who was the president for the last 4 years, because it wasn't Joe Biden.
Right.
I've worked with people in dementia. He had more dementia
Mhm.
and less capacity cognitively than anybody I've ever encountered. And yet it was hidden from us.
Yeah.
The mainstream media ignored it. And, if that's not election interference, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Let's set the table here a little bit. Back in the 80s, when I first moved down here, there were two newspapers, a morning and an afternoon. Afternoon being the Tulsa Tribune. And
I was a reporter for the Tribune.
Thank you. That's your launching point. Tell us about your career in journalism, starting there.
Well, okay. Let me try and abbreviate this as quickly as I can.
Appreciate that.
I went back to school to just get a degree. I took a news writing class, and it was their fault. They told me I was good at it.
Oh.
So blame them, because they then hired me to be an editor of what was the TJC Horizon.
Oh, sure.
And back in the day, the Horizon was prohibited from full distribution on all of what is now Tulsa Community College's campus. And I objected to that and started writing about that, and found that and that was like 1986, 1976, 10 years prior, the little student newspaper had written something about a pre-release center that was going to be located near the downtown campus.
Yeah, which was the only campus.
Which was the only campus there. And the school got all twisted out of shape about that and restricted their distribution.
Oh, gee.
Well, when I got back to school, I researched the subject and basically said, love you guys, but there is a First Amendment and it does apply to you.
Sure.
So as I was preparing for the next edition, I had the layout sheets, and this was back in the day. You may remember, the viewers may not. We actually had to print out type and wax the back of it and line it up and use border tape and get a special headline and do all of that. And then we would take the layout sheets to the printer, and they would photograph them and make a plate out of them and then run the paper. Well, I came in one morning all night long, or a good part of the night, and heard on the other side of the petition, the instructors say that forward, the layout sheets had to go in to the communications office, and the printer would pick them up from the communications office and return them back to the communications office, where the students could then get it. Well, being somewhat a suspicious soul, I took the layout sheets out to get a copy made before I turned them in.
Yep.
And while I was out, I got a call from my assistant editor who told me I'd been fired. Something they didn't tell me 10 minutes earlier. So I made a copy, and I made 2,999 additional copies. Never really been shy about some things. So I brought the layout sheets to return them to the school. And it was never, that paper, that edition was never printed by the school, but I had copies and I distributed it by hand. Security was told not to allow me to do that. I did it anyway. I showed up to their board of regents meetings. I delivered them to the regents. Before it was all done, and it was a long process, TJC then and TCC now looked at their students as parking lot students that would just go to school, park, go to school, get back to the parking lot and go on home. And they knew that it was only a 2-year school. They could outweight any student advocate on any particular issue.
Sure.
So I started enrolling in one class per semester. Anyway, So it continued. Eventually, we got a resolution of intent from the Oklahoma legislature that said institutions of higher education in Oklahoma would not prevent the free exercise of First Amendment liberty for students.
Do you know what year was this? Give us context.
The controversy kicked up at about 1985,
Okay.
86. By 1987, I had won the Scholastic Press Freedom Award nationally. And you're going to love this. The 1988 Hugh M. Hefner First Amendment Award in print journalism. And yes, I went to the Playboy Mansion. And yes, I met Hugh Hefner and his bevy of attendants at the time. And it was
tough job, isn't it?
You know, I surprised them all because I was a conservative that won a First Amendment issue.
Oh.
So there was a little bit of back and forth.
That slipped through.
Yes, I actually was having dinner with Christy Hefner in Hollywood, and she
That's his daughter,
hostess.
correct?
Pardon? His daughter, who ran the organization for a long time.
Sure she did.
And we were at the same table, and we were going back and forth about, what was the most effective vehicle for delivering service or to help people. And I asserted that business was. And because they were economical, they didn't waste money. They watched their pennies because it was their money.
Sure.
And her response was that no, only government cares for the people. I've been looking for a point in space and time where government actually cared for anybody other than themselves, but I have yet to find it.
Yeah, look at the VA. How's that working out for the vets?
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
So there is a mission of government to do good, and we want to encourage them to do that.
There are roles.
By the same token, government can get ahead of itself and not deliver products or services to mine there.
Help me get back to the first with the student newspaper.
Yes.
Then what did you do?
Well, I started when I was fired as the school editor, then I began publishing the Independent Student News.
Sure.
So from that point, I was a publisher. But the Tulsa Tribune asked me to join their staff, and I did that for a while.
The Jenkins family ran that, didn't they?
Well, the Jones family. It was Jenkins and Lloyd Jones.
Yes,
and the other various members of the Jones family. Dex Jones had helped me a lot with the Independent Student News. He was an investment guy and actually noted that was the worst investment he probably ever made, but he was there to try and help free speech. What was interesting is the Tulsa Tribune over 3 years did roughly 53 stories about what we were trying to accomplish for the students to set up a platform. The Tulsa World was more the established, which they are still today, and I think did maybe 5 to 7 stories. I'd have to go back and look at that to be sure, but not very many. So part of the problem today are dominant narratives that issue from platforms that do not allow dissent. And because of that, the tyranny of political correctness is shown in self-censorship by people today. They don't, they hear the narrative, okay, well, I don't agree with that, but, I don't want to say anything or do anything. And that's not really my attitude.
But Tulsa World kind of did a power play on the business side that kind of left Tribune in a not very functional position. So they folded, right?
Well, there was it's been a long time since I've looked but the World and the Tribune actually took 3 companies to publish 2 newspapers.
Yeah.
So there was the World Publishing, the Tribune Publishing, and what became Tribune Swab Fox, and then there was the Newspaper Printing Corporation.
Yes.
So the editorial boards and the news staffs were different, but the distribution, advertising, sales, and printing of the paper was all in the newspaper.
Yeah, the sales staff.
The sales staff was separate, worked for both of them, which gave people the impression they were the same editorially, but they were not. So anyway, the World said, and that was a specific exemption to the Sherman Antitrust Act that allowed newspapers to share resources. And what the World did, the Lorton family in particular, which owned the World at the time, said they would not renew the JOA, the 70-year joint operating agreement. Yeah. Now, the Tribune knew that they were trying to or might face such an issue. So they brought a partner in who was an attorney, proclaimed himself a successful oil guy. And without naming specific names, by the time the Tribune as a business finished that agreement, they found their new partner, rather than being a source of revenue to keep the paper afloat, had really leveraged everything he had and had no capital to really do that.
Okay.
So, I mean, it gets a little bit strange. So what the World did was go to the Tribune and say, you can go out on your own, which they could have done, and in my opinion, should have done.
Yeah.
Or we'll give you $50 million. And the Jones family took the money and ran.
Oh, gotcha.
Now, after the Tribune closed, I went to Landis Jones, who was the youngest Jones still in the newsroom, and said, hey, Landy, let's do a weekly newspaper. And we set that up. We got the printing set up. We got the advertisers networked and all of that. We pitched it as an investigative paper. But through Landy, decided that I controversial a reputation,
even then,
to be associated with his family newspaper. So they actually, and if anybody knows the Jones family, they cut me a check for $10,000 for a month and a half's work. And in those days, it was fairly good money. So I withdrew and let them do their thing. But you could see that their effort was going to fail miserably with the first edition, where Landis Jones had his front page publisher pontification talking about the glories and the history of the family. That's not what you need on the front page. You need to talk to people about what you're going to do for them. Now, about 6 months later, I met with Landy down at the Blue Rose and said, Landy, we promised people this would be an investigative paper. So with all due respect, where the flying frick are the investigations? And he goes, well, you have to be a strong newspaper before you do investigations. And I looked at him and I said, buddy, you become a strong newspaper by doing investigation. Excuse me.
So, okay. So where'd you go from then? You started your own thing eventually, right?
Well, in excuse me, I'm still getting over cold. In 1996, I started the domain TulsaToday.com. We launched with a live presentation out of Oktoberfest. First time that had ever been done. We were streaming before streaming was cool. And in 97, I began regular. And from that point, it's built. Now I have today.com, and I also have Arnett on Substack, arnett.substack.com.
Is that also called Straight Up?
Yes, that was the name for it.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how I write.
Yep.
And that's also a term out of the oil industry, where if it's straight up, everything's going well, the oil's coming in, there's no problems, there's no issue. It's
good.
Straight.
I had not heard that story, and I've known you for over 10 years.
Some people have heard it way too much.
Okay.
Other people have not heard it at all. I take some pride in being the most famous journalist no one has ever heard of, because as a local guy, local media doesn't want to admit any other media is out there, with the exception of Fresh Black Coffee, which does an outstanding job with that.
Kiss up. It's all true.
It's all true.
So, yeah, this is the thing. It is who you are, right? I mean, to do investigative journalism. I read one of your stories this morning, getting ready for the show. Somebody wants a golden hammock for being Karen Keith's deputy commissioner. How'd that turn out?
Well, I did write about that, and I, we never know, but during a transition, county commissioner is leaving, and after an election, but prior to assuming the office, one would think that there would not be major hires in that period, that the new county commissioner would have a chance if they were looking at adding to the executive staff. So on Tulsa Today and Substack, I posted a story about that and interviewed the various county commissioners and other people involved. And people are more than willing to read that. Now, as a result of that, and it is not known how all of those things will happen. But here in January, when Lonnie Sims takes over, he has announced another deputy that for his office, and we don't know where the previous deputy will go or what will happen at this point.
Yeah, but according to your article, Commissioner from District 1, Sully, was really making a pitch for, this guy's great, we can't afford to lose him and everything. And then you published, and Eddie and I happen to know that Sully is kind of saying, lay off, I'm not pushing that anymore, anything like that. Evidently, he got some bad heat from it.
I just ask questions and type up the answers.
Yeah. Well,
shy.
Let me step in. Actually, to make it clear for everyone, what was happening, apparently Commissioner Keith, on her way out, decided to propose creating a new position, which was unneeded because it's a redundant position. The work that would be done by this new position is already being done by about 5 different other offices in the county. So this is not needed. It, as you said, it's a golden parachute type of deal.
The question, I think, here within the building, kind of home or place this former deputy. Right. But there was no unique function for him to execute that wasn't already covered
5 times.
So
right. It was unnecessary.
I'm trying to be as kind as I can with everybody involved here. Yes. And we wish him the best of a career. But the point is not to grow government.
Right.
The point is to execute the role of government and what is necessary to help the people. And county government is a lot of fun because they are actually the closest level of state government to the people. And they are not a legislative body. They are purely an administrative body. So they have laws coming at them from the state capitol and budgets that are limited, by the property tax, because that's what funds county government for the most part. So there's a big balancing act. Now, coming up in the next few weeks, county government is going to hopefully begin the rebuild of the courthouse downtown. Now, the county courthouse has been there for a long time. It has deferred maintenance issues that have been deferred and deferred and deferred. So those need to be resolved. And some work has been done, but more needs to be done. Now, the municipal court building, that's the city of Tulsa courts, apparently they want to do away with that and build a convention hotel where it is, or allow a convention hotel to be built. But county still has work to do to provide a courthouse and judges' chambers and juries for those trials. So there is functionality for the office, for the courthouse, that needs to be maintained. They've got, I think, $20 million plus, big sum, to do some of those repairs. And how that money is going to be spent and where it's going to go and how it's going to get done is still ongoing.
We're into a story because we had Kelly Dunkley sat in that chair several months back talking about, at that time, in fact, you were at the meeting I was at when the national advisors pitched the ideas, right, of we could build or we could remodel. They said it doesn't make sense to remodel. It's probably going to be cheaper and less intrusive on the daily operations of the courts if we just build a new building. But now you're saying, no, that ain't flying.
Well, we have a new administrative building for the county, which is across the street from the courthouse. We have space in that building, and it has solid bones, as I understand it from engineers. Now, engineers, like lawyers, can argue with each other and feel fully justified in their opinions, whether or not they are accurate in all degree or not. So these decisions have to be analyzed by our elected representatives, and we vote for county commissioners to represent us in these things. So it's going to be interesting how all of that comes out. It would be nice to have a new courthouse. I'd like to have a brand new Lamborghini, as a matter of fact, and a 30-foot-a-day sailboat and a variety of other things. I can't afford them. So does government. Now, not been a new issue. They've had marble falling off the courthouse for years. Hopefully it doesn't fall and hit anybody and hurt them.
Yeah, mold in the building.
At some point. And they've done some mitigation on asbestos and some other stuff. So I'm a fan of county government because I think it's more efficient. With city government, they have many more employees, and there's a mid-management level of city government where they have meetings to have meetings to have meetings about having meetings. And I find that difficult.
Okay.
With all due respect, when I was by the name of Pearl, and she put an assignment for the Union School Board. And I did that, and I went to some other school boards, but reporting on activity. But finally, I sat down with Pearl, and I said, Pearl, I love you. I love the Tribune. I love working here. But if you're going to keep me on the school board, I'm going to need a bottle in front of me or a frontal lobotomy, because these are the most boring meetings I've ever gone to in my life. and fortunately, she said, "Okay, David, we'll put you somewhere else," and move me around. That's the thing the Tribune did on a regular basis that the world never does. They moved their reporters around so that they didn't get stale on a particular beat.
Tribune did.
The Tribune did. The World, if they can find anybody that'll work for them, they tend to keep them in the same place, doing the same thing. And you get into ruts with your writing and your investigation. When I was in journalism school, the professor basically said, if your mother tells you that she loves you, get a second source. I trust everybody, but I want to get more opinions on everything than just one sole source.
Right. Okay. Getting back to the issue with county and city, I have to agree with you. I think I'd have to say the county has been more efficient with its money than the city. And it's, and I may sound disgruntled due to from the prior, but it has nothing. I mean, I would have said this regardless of the election. What I've seen the county do with their money, their budget, the fact that they have a surplus, where the city tends to always be living off of the next budget or the next increase in taxes and so forth, and all these proposals. For example, remodeling the courthouse versus tearing down and have this grand vision of a new hotel, and then we'll just worry about building a new courthouse instead of letting the private sector worry about doing a hotel. We're as a city going to worry about taking care of the courthouse.
Well, where is the municipal courthouse? If it's not there, where are they going to put it?
Exactly. You've got to buy land. You've got to buy property. So somebody is going to weasel their way in, a brother-in-law deal or something.
Well, no, David, I got to say, that building, the old Williams Communication Building, right? Isn't that the new City Hall is?
That's City Hall. I call it the board cube.
Yeah. But Bill LaFortune justify is can lease out several floors.
That was Kathy Taylor.
Oh,
that was not Bill LaFortune.
Okay.
Bill didn't get us into that deal.
Okay.
It was Kathy Taylor. And you got to love Kathy Taylor. I mean, any mayor that comes from a 3-jet family is impressive.
But what happened? Why didn't we have that revenue stream coming in from leasing out the building?
I honestly would love to hire a city reporter. Journalism, as you guys very well know, it takes time to research. Mondays are pretty much Wednesdays is where they have it for the city, and there's very little parking. It's difficult to get in the place. I'm not impressed with the city hall or the council, and to me it's a kabuki theater. The meetings prior to the actual is when they decide things. And
what I was getting at is, why couldn't they move the municipal court building over to the current City Hall building where they got all those extra floors?
Oh, I'm not sure Buffy and Bobby would like that very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying the inefficiency of city government is just, and it always seems to be about somebody up here playing it. And, it just aggravates me. Not just the people playing the game at the top or down there, but there's someone behind the scenes playing the game, organizing the game, and that's what really infuriates me. So like I said, as far as county, I think that I have to say I really think the county works fairly efficiently considering everything.
Yeah.
But versus the city, it's a cabal. I mean, it is monopolized. And I tried to say this in the campaign. It's focused on downtown, and it's a certain group of people that always control. One group controls the government, the other controls the funds.
Well,
and those two together have kept the money downtown, even though downtown we're dying. I mean, we're dying, and you've got these suburbs that are just starting to flourish. You know, you go to BA, Bixby's revitalizing, Owasso, Jenks. Eventually, you're going to have Sand Springs. Somebody's going to discover Sand Springs. Their city government's going to get it together. And because they've got, with the river down there, they've got all kinds of things they could do with that town. So well,
I actually think Sand Springs is going to be the shining star for residents. But there are issues. I mean, Jinx is certainly growing. They've got a new shopping center there that's kind of cool. The entire city is growing. But when the
Metroplex.
Yeah, the Metroplex.
Right. That's where you have to think instead of thinking.
And the Chamber of Commerce has kind of done that to become more regional, and I appreciate that. Yeah. But then again, the city of Tulsa, our lovely Mayor Poindexter, G.T. Bynum, now gone, wishing the best of luck. During COVID, he got on television and claimed to represent 1 million people. No, he doesn't. There's not that many people in the city of Tulsa. There are other municipalities that have their own rights and liberties. But the city of Tulsa is a willing solicitor of media attention. That's the kindest way I can say that. Tulsa County keeps its head down, gets funded by property tax, and just does the job. The city of Tulsa, plays to media more, and I think does less than any other level of government.
Yeah.
In our area.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I was telling Commissioner Dunkerley, I did research on state fairs. Most states have a state fair. Oklahoma have one. 2 counties call themselves state fairs. Tulsa and Oklahoma City's.
No, it's because we're better looking.
Yeah. We have the largest. Tulsa County puts on the 4th largest state fair in the nation. That's a huge thing for a county to do.
Well, and one of the things Vision 2025 accomplished for the city of Tulsa, or not the city of Tulsa, but Tulsa County. And I wish infrastructure projects like that were done by the county, because they actually know how to build things and work things. But Vision 2025 and For to Fix the County in various programs did a monumental job in Expo Square, in going to the horse shows and the associations and asking them, how can we build this facility so that you can use it? The Arabian Horse Show, among others, the Quarter Horse Association. I mean, we don't really think about it here in Oklahoma, but when those dually trucks roll in pulling horse trailers that are quarter of a mile long, and I'm exaggerating with that. Those are not inexpensive pieces of equipment.
Right.
The horses in those are, in some cases, $1 million.
Yeah, they're insured for big numbers.
Horseflesh.
Yeah.
And they take care of them well. They spend their money. They come from all over the country to go to these kinds of breeding and showing and functional industry gatherings. That is an ongoing generator that money triples and quadruples ripples through the restaurants and the hotels and a lot of other things
Sure.
in businesses here that,
Sure.
that people don't realize.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a good thing Vision 2025 did. And also the downtown arena, the BOK Center, was built with Vision 2025 money. And that Bill LaFortune as mayor had a strong hand with. Of course, Kathy Taylor wanted to take all the credit for it, but because she was there as it was being built, but Bill actually got the deal done.
Yeah.
You know, it was difficult. Some people officially opposed it. But you can tell it was the most successful program in Tulsa's history because the city of Tulsa has been doing Vision this and Vision that and stealing the name ever since. But it was the Tulsa County that did Vision 2025.
Yeah. But, my problem with it, and I think Eddie as well, is location. Why does the BOK Center have to be in the most congested, hard to find parking, hard to get to place instead of along the Broken Arrow Expressway and I-44?
Well, the answer for that is a couple of things. First of all, there is a municipal power generation steam plant immediately adjacent to the facility, which saved them a huge amount of money in how they operate the facility. Also, you've got to look at all the roads and highways that come into downtown. And the fact there's a lot of parking available on the weekends and evenings when businesses aren't operating in downtown, but parking is available for special events.
Yeah. Now, I just remember my son playing D-Fest at the Performing Arts Center at the same time American Idol's down there, and I've never seen that place on a Friday night so snarled up.
Well, I used to live downtown.
Yeah.
And I had a loft at 3rd and Cheyenne. And it was a lot of fun. I actually got to see that land cleared and the building begin to rise. And I was there when the Tower View apartments burned down.
Yeah.
Famous crackhead hotel that was immediately adjacent to the Tulsa World parking lot, and they didn't notice it was a crackhead hotel for only 30 years. It took them 30 years to figure out there was an issue there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the funny thing, though, if you want to look at long-term infrastructure, the funniest name we have for anything is the inner city dispersal loop. The loop around downtown Tulsa, to your point, is so small, we have stuff flying off the edge if they go too fast.
Semis rolling over.
It's barely big enough to contain the Chamber of Commerce and the nonprofit egos that work down there.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't disperse any inner city traffic. It's more like a bullseye on the very core of downtown.
Sure.
So, but what is past and beyond repair should be past and beyond regard. Shakespeare, if you don't mind. Some of these things we work with, we adjust as best we can, and media and diverse opinions like fresh Black.Coffee brings to the table, and I do on my platform, hopefully help the people judge these issues so they can make decisions and communicate to their elected representatives reason and wisdom.
Okay.
We hope.
A study on the BOK is profitable or not.
Oh, yeah. It's hugely profitable. What we had prior to the BOK Center was costing us $1 million a year in upkeep. They're now returning.
You're talking about the convention center.
Yeah, the old convention center. And now they're returning, as I understand it. And keep in mind, I would have to look again at the research, but the last time I looked at it, they were generating back to the city 1.5 million. The people that criticized it, and we won't want to name names from back in the day, but there were some, oh, that'll never be built. It's all corrupt. It'll never blah, blah, blah. It's not corrupt. It has been built. There was citizen oversight on the package. There were detailed accounting all the way through. But what really the critics did not understand is that the caliber of shows that are presented at the BOK draw people from Kansas and Missouri and Arkansas to come to Tulsa. And again, they're staying overnight. They're spending their money.
Yeah. No, you're making a very legitimate point there. The one on the budgeting of the operations was the police overtime, because you got to close certain roads. You got to, barricades. Evidently, that's one of the things they didn't quite factor in, had to make adjustment in reporting, the
I haven't looked at the security costs, but I also believe that's part of the venue's obligation to pay those, to pay police.
And that's a good point. If it's not just up the cost of renting the facility.
So you're, to the promoter. I mean, it should be. Yeah. I mean, but they're making money there.
Yeah.
And I celebrate that and appreciate that fact. It is also one of the best designed, from what the performers tell, about being able to load in and load out.
Yeah, it's good.
And when you've got a tour going on, you're trying to get in, get out, get it done, move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it works.
No, and there are certain things that should be government. I'd like when private sector can do it. There's times to pass things off, say it's time for private sector. This isn't, but the Performing Arts Center, I'll say, is.
Well, what the BOK did was show that there is a market here greater than the population here.
Yeah.
And that, I believe, has led to, a concert venue now being planned in Broken Arrow.
Yeah.
So there are secondary and tertiary benefits to success.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it is true. No doubt. We got a new mayor coming in. Tell me what your thoughts are. What are his biggest challenges going to be? What are his strengths? What are you concerned about?
Well, I interviewed him.
Okay.
And I thought it was a pretty good interview.
Mm-hmm.
He did tell me that he was slightly offended by my verbiage.
Mm-hmm.
Afterwards?
No, actually during the interview.
Okay.
He started referring to white fragility. Okay. Now, Eddie, correct me if I'm wrong, but white fragility is what the name Black people use when they don't want to call you racist and really insult you.
It's from a book.
I later, after that interview with Kevin Hearn, our representative to Washington, and I've known Kevin for a long time, and I said, Kevin, have you ever known me to be verbally fragile about anything?
Mm-hmm.
And he got a good laugh about that. Now, where that came up in the discussion with Monroe Nichols was over the lie or slander, in my opinion, that there was a massacre in Tulsa.
Right.
There was never a massacre in Tulsa.
Thank you.
There was a armed civilian conflict or civil war, if you prefer. But anytime you have identifiable groups, large identifiable groups, armed, marching through the business district of a city, shooting their own and others who oppose them, that's not a massacre.
Right.
Well, I look at the news this week in near Hanover, Berlin area. There was a little Christmas market, and the Muslims marched through this Christmas market one day. 2 days later, not last night, another this happened to be an Arab guy, doctor, bulldoze his vehicle high speed through there, and more than I think there was 10 or 7. There's over 200 injured from that. Now, did we have any warning this guy was going to do it?
Yes, we did.
We had the march 3 days earlier.
Well, and there are still facts coming out on this, David.
Yeah.
But as I understand it, he was from Saudi Arabia and is anti-Islam.
Yes.
So he's an anti-Islam Arab. I get very confused. I don't know. I mean, there are Persians and there are Arabs, and they don't really like each other all the time.
Yes, the Sunnis and the.
And I see. I think he was a leftist, socialist minded, was against religion in general.
Well, I mean,
and he went after a Christian festival event. You know, the Christmas market.
But wait. Can we get back to the
Oklahoma,
Tulsa. Even Tulsa?
How about that?
I was enjoying the journey.
I know, we just jumped the ocean. We didn't just jump states or the country. We jumped the ocean.
What we were talking about, do you have any warnings?
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but what you're saying,
when you have totally open borders, you do not vet people coming in, which has happened thanks to Joe Biden or whoever is actually pulling his strings.
Angela Merkel.
Yeah,
Angela Merkel in Germany, if we're going to do that. But getting back to Tulsa and the riot, AKA massacre, which you and I do not believe was a massacre.
Armed people marching through the business district. That's where I got off.
In fact, that's one of the things I got in trouble with from the Tulsa world, because I wouldn't call it a massacre. They did not like that. But I agree. There was no massacre. People on both sides died. 60-some white people died, which is they're never mentioned.
No, that's the first I've heard.
No, right. Yeah, you deserved it.
Well, some of the archived photographs, it shows one guy dead on the ground with a sheet or covering over him. And it's written on the photograph, he's not black, he's white. You know, and in the middle of the street. Yeah. Yes, it was a horrid thing.
It was.
It was a terrible thing.
It never should have happened.
People suffered as a result of that.
Mm-hmm. And the couple was ushered out of town by the sheriff. They were totally protected. He had shut the elevators down, guards on every floor, never could have gotten to. He ushered them out of town, get them out of town, and 14 armed former war veterans from North Tulsa decided to come down with guns, and then all of a sudden the word gets out, N-words with the weapons are coming down to the sheriffs. I mean,
if I may,
everything that could go wrong went wrong that day.
Yep. It was not good.
It was not good.
It was not good in any way, shape, or form. And I know there are families, older, long established families that protected people of color, and their employees and their friends and all of that. And Tulsa has been humiliated by this event since it happened in 1921. Now, I am willing to sit down and dig into the facts, and that's part of what Mayor Monroe Nichols suggested I could do to help, is to work with other historians to try and resolve that issue. And if he wants that, then I would volunteer to help my city in that way. But here's the point. By using the word massacre, that is hyperbolic.
Yeah.
That is slander. That is, if it's printed, upon the people of Tulsa. And the left wants to hoist it as another bloody red flag that they can demonize America with. And it was totally a fabrication that was fostered by people on the so-called reconciliation committee
Right.
that wanted to exaggerate this.
Sure.
And I'll never forget the story in National Geographic, a credible story that said the story has been hidden for many, many years. No, it hasn't.
Yeah.
Publication, every conservative publication has written about the race riot in Tulsa locally for a long time. I learned about it in history when I was going to school here. Now, not everybody pays attention in history when they go to school here.
But you know what they aren't?
But I heard it.
You know
I
what
saw
they
a
aren't-
movie, just briefly, I saw a movie back in the 80s about it. The guy from, what was the former, he was with, oh man, my mind is escaping me. Computer movie with Mr. Tibbs. Carol O'Connor was the sheriff.
Yeah,
and,
I know the guy you're
anyway,
talking about. Really good guy. Good
the
actor.
black
black
actor that played his deputy there, and he starred in
name?
this movie, and it depicted the whole deal.
Yeah.
It showed how they had come from the war and they got weapons, and they were mad, and they were going down there and ended up in the shootout. So, like you said, Dave, it was not hidden. I mean, they make it hidden. It was hidden is because people didn't study and didn't care to know anymore about it.
In the 100th anniversary in 2021, when they celebrated this, we had Joe Biden and Cory Booker and all these people come to Tulsa and tried to push every button to aggravate racial discord that they could. There were black groups that marched streets of Tulsa telling on video that rat-a-tat-tat. You know what rat-a-tat-tat means, don't you? And they were saying that. Now, they were not opposed. They were not yelled at. They were not, are you okay, fine.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But what I want to do as a writer, as a historian, as a lover of this city, whatever it takes to resolve the facts, let's do so and move forward. I don't care what happened 100 years ago. I care greatly what will happen 100 years from now.
Okay, so there was a lot of energy and effort spent at helping re-educate us on who Tate Brady was and why we can't have a street named after Brady. And yet there's not been any research on where we got the name Greenwood from. Greenwood LaFleur, principal chief of the Choctaw Nation, best friend of Jefferson Davis, president of the Confederacy.
I know.
And the black folk love that name Greenwood, but they can't have that name Brady. Look, do you see hypocrisy here?
We do the best we can with what we have today. Yeah. I am not here to try and aggravate, anybody further than they've already been aggravated. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, as a community, you best not slander Tulsa. And I hold accountable those officials in 2021 who did not defend the honor of Tulsa. We are not a racist city. Have racist incidents happened? I'm sure people have been snide in remarks and other kinds of things. Inappropriate. I have my own family members appropriate at some times.
Sure, but they're
others.
They're going to push us. And the more they get away with it, the more they're going.
Who are you talking about?
The race baiters.
Okay.
They want to tear down the interdispersal loop only on the north side because Pete Buttigieg says that those are racist overpasses.
Fortunately, on November 5th of 2024. We reset normal.
I hope
no longer is insanity ruling. Well, at least once Biden gets out of office, it won't be. But there are basic things that we know. There are scientific facts that we know. There are real things. And that would be another show. I don't want to spend all of your time on this. But But of course, there have always been the Al Sharptons of the world who make a living aggravating. And I think Obama did more to damn us. I think we were almost beyond racist until Obama brought it back in many, many ways.
I think so.
But, you know, as our first Arab president, he did a great disservice to the country.
Right. But the last thing on this, on city government, is G.T. Bynum had this ad hoc committee having to deal with, you know, race reconciliation and stuff. This new committee. Evidently, Monroe Nichols would need to reauthorize that as an ad hoc committee or it goes away.
The biggest problem with that entire group is they have themselves in their own ideological silo, and they're not talking to anybody outside of it.
Yeah.
Now, if you want a conflict, let's talk about making people pay today for what other people did 100 years ago.
That was Eddie's argument.
Oops, that isn't going to fly here.
No.
Now, there may be some ways to help some people, but for heaven's sakes, I was discriminated against for being Irish.
Yes.
I've been discriminated against for suffering male pattern baldness.
Yeah.
When do I get my check for that?
Well, you're going to make Japanese, Hispanics,
everybody.
Native Americans,
left-handers,
everybody,
left-handers
in Tulsa, pay for something that alleged white people did, and then the ones who came from the Northeast, the Southeast, Southwest. I mean, you know, all these people who have never been to Tulsa, have no historical background in Tulsa. All of a sudden, our taxes are supposed to pay for people who really also didn't live in Tulsa.
Well, yeah, the only slavery that was legalized in Oklahoma was tribes owning slaves.
Which they did.
Yes.
Right. But yeah, so the whole thing is ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we better move on because this is
all right.
But David, what is forefront on your mind? What issues should we be looking at that people may not be aware of in the city of Tulsa and the state of Oklahoma, maybe, that we aren't really cognizant of, that you feel may be important to us?
You know, one of the biggest things that I would, pedophiles, the education system has not done enough. Now, the example of that, the primary example, was a drag show performer who was a principal of the Western Heights Elementary School and hired other folks with him. Now, I think he's been let go, but there is especially in small towns in Oklahoma, your coaches and your teachers have extraordinary influence. And because our major journalism organizations don't get out of their home office, especially if they can like turn on the internet and watch council meetings online, they never go out and investigate. And in these small towns, there can be a self-censorship and a good old boy system that is as damning as anything that has ever existed in the country. And we need to go out and look at that. Now, there's a Substack site called Visit Vantage that has been covering this for a long time. Coaches that are where charges have been brought, and I know the people who do that site, and they have suffered retaliation from and threats by legal, and they're still doing the good work. About accountability for education. I would also like to see, a full review of DHS in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Now, that also requires a full review of the legal system. Our court system in Oklahoma is corrupt, and the worst of the county courthouses is Tulsa. There are attorneys in Oklahoma City and throughout the state that will not come to Oklahoma or will not come to Tulsa to represent clients in a case because the judges here do not follow the law. They follow whatever they want to follow.
Yes.
The time of day.
You get the Jeff Kriegel treatment.
Yeah. Or a variety of other things. Now, that's another issue if you ever want to get into it.
Yeah.
But I suffered personally something I have not fully written about, but 6 years of litigation. In a civil case, 6 days of a jury trial that cost me in fees $53,000 that I didn't have on charges that were all thrown out. A jury of my peers found me innocent or not responsible for what they were trying to charge me with. And what did I do? I simply talked to law enforcement and DHS. Now, if people can be sued in civil court for talking to law enforcement or DHS, then you have a deep, serious problem. And no one should speak to law enforcement or DHS and put themselves at risk. And I will argue that until that's fixed, we don't have law enforcement in Oklahoma, and every citizen is at risk.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Now, that's another long story.
That's an ominous way to end.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, David, listen, we're definitely going to have you back. In fact, we may just make it a monthly deal in 2025.
Holy mackerel. You mean we can save the country from here with fresh black coffee?
That's right. Wake them
like
up.
it.
Wake them up. Yeah,
Caffeine.
it would be good to get.
Caffeine is proof God loves us and wants us to be happy.
Well, I just wish it didn't give me migraines. I love coffee. I love chocolate, but the caffeine in my system, my brain just don't work. I get these migraines. Yeah. But God was good too. He invented some good migraine pills. So
there you go.
I'm able to.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here.
No, thank you for coming. Seriously,
we
appreciate it. And I do want to start dialogue and give you the opportunity. Tell the people there how to find your various news.
You know, we almost apologize for looking the other direction most of the time. Work on www.tulsatoday.com. Also on Arnett.substack.com. Now, the Substack site includes an opportunity for people to subscribe for free or for paid if you would like. But that a subscription means with every new major story posted, you will get that by email. And people have found that is preferred way of getting major stories. Now, I do other stories on Tulsa Today that are of general interest to the community, but the best work where I'm really delving into Oklahoma is on Substack, and I welcome you to subscribe for free. Look forward to talking with you more there.
All right.
Well, thank you, David. We appreciate that. And everybody, we'll be back after the break. Thank you.
Mic's off. All right.
Okay.
Good. Well, thanks. Yeah. Well,
so did you enjoy that?
Yeah. Really did. Really did.
It's a lot more than I was aware of.
Yeah. So, we should do this about once a month, and you can up on the latest what's going on.
Sure.
Well, I often a resource for political and government people who want the background on where the bodies are buried. And I don't know where all of them are buried, but I do have friends with backhoes.
Yeah. No, but we agree on that whole 1921 deal. I've been writing on it for a long time. I won't call it a massacre. People get off it. You didn't call it a massacre. You called it a riot. Well, it was a riot. That's what it was. People rioted.
It was civil war.
Yeah.
You know,
Civil War.
I think it was a civil war. And you know, I'll stand beside and fight with people of color, military men. They were not schmucks. These were World War I vets. You know. But
yeah, it was a movie they did. They actually did a whole movie on the deal, and I didn't know what it was until I came here and heard the story, and I said, oh, "That's what this was." But they showed no story where they got mad, guns, and they went down into town.
And we could actually blame it on Oklahoma City. That was where the lynching happened. But Tulsans were afraid because of that Oklahoma City lynching.
You know what? Next time we'll bring that up.
Okay.
I have to bring that up.
Yeah,
I didn't even know about that.
See, I was all Oklahoma City's fault. But here's the thing.
So there was no lynching in Tulsa. Lynching was
never. No. Yeah, but here's the thing. Randy Crable, who wrote the book, you know, whatever, but used the word massacre in the title of subhead. But he said that was not the title he wanted. That the race reconciliation people came into the newsroom, talked to him about it, demanded the word massacre be there. And the executive editor of the Tulsa World did not know that.
Wow. Say that. We needed that. We will bring that up.
Now, if I go one step further, I will point out that Randy Crable is the top political writer in a major newspaper in the metro, has his work tailored by the people he's writing on. How independent is the boy?
I get a little aggravation, so I don't
He knows me by name. The very same God that put the world into motion is listening today. He hears what I say when I pray. Oh, when I pray.
Copy of your book. Coffee cup is fine, but the book, I can add this to my collection.
Yeah. Oh, here's one.
I don't care what color.
Yeah, this is a
Cool.
more compelling.
Excellent.
And disregard. There's an error on the back, at least one. I mean, Bill said when we redid it, they forgot to close the quotes.
You know, New York Times.
I know.
Mistakes. We all make
All right.
mistakes.
You're all
Hey, thanks, David.
Thank you.
All right, Danny, have a good Christmas. You too. See you later.
Ready. Ready to roll. Yeah.
Well, my granddaughter's in town.
Your what's that?
Granddaughters are in town.
Talitha and their kids?
Mm-hmm. Man, they're getting big. Well, one of them is 17.
Wow.
Believe it, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I've got all the kids coming over tomorrow, or at least a couple of our kids and their families. And then Monday morning, bright and early, we're heading up to Minnesota. So I'll be out of pocket next Saturday. Check, check, check.
Do something here.
Check. You know what? This is still picking it up.
That's because you're on. Oh, it's on cue. Really?
It's the sound here. It's showing that it's picking up.
That's funny. Because it's on cue. So we're not picking it up anywhere. It shouldn't be going out.
Yeah. All right.
So it's picked it up over the air?
Yeah, I don't know why. It's showing lights. Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Well, they're all on. I don't know why. They're all on cue. I guess I should have shut them all the way off. Is that picking up?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Do we need music, or we just?
Yeah, we do that intro, but not the intro to the show, but the other one.
Our exit. We'll just use our exit. Come back in. All right. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed that for an hour or so of the Fresh Black Coffee program.
Little Kate Bush to bring us back in.
Yes, with David Arnett as our guest. Yo. Hey, yeah, I thought that was pretty enlightening. Funny, David and I, we've had our times, disagreements.
Oh, yeah.
Here's an interesting thing that some people may know and some don't. I don't know how much of this I should share, how to get into. Anyway, let's just put it this way. We were both involved in the initial Tulsa Christmas parade.
The initial reboot of it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not the initial Tulsa Christmas parade.
You're not that old.
No, right. The initial new Tulsa Christmas parade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the initial Tulsa Christmas parade, I don't know who started that. That was like for decades decades. It goes way back.
Yeah.
Right. And what happened there is someone got the great idea. Well, I'll tell you who in a minute, but yeah, they decided to make it a holiday parade. And I found out later that it was the Jewish League and Jewish individuals that wanted that to happen. And the way I found out was once we had it and we were wanting to move it, I wrote a letter to Drew Diamond. I may have told you this story.
He was a vice cop. I first met him and worked with him on some, trying to close down some porno movie theaters we had in town. And then he became police chief.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know all that. I just know that I had heard his name, but then I found out he was like the head representative, or he was, I don't know if he was the president at the time, but someone important in the Jewish Federation of Tulsa. Anyway, and what I wanted to do, I wanted to turn it into a Christmas and Hanukkah parade, because when the Christmas parade takes place, tends to fall very often on Hanukkah. And because Hanukkah is a little bit before Christmas.
Usually,
so, right.
It moves around.
Yeah. Right. And so it's usually on Hanukkah, or maybe just a little after Hanukkah or so. So anyway, I offered to have a Christmas and Hanukkah parade, which is interesting because the Tulsa World attacked me for being anti-Semitic,
Yeah.
that I hate Jews, but I'm the one who wrote them a letter inviting them to join us to celebrate
Right.
Hanukkah.
Right.
So anyway, I wrote this letter. I get a response back from Drew Diamond saying, quote, "We have no interest in partnering with you in this parade." And I said, okay. And I found out later that they're the ones who really wanted this, what would you call it, ecumenical parade, and change the name into a holiday parade.
Yeah.
And at that point, they were having Muslims. It was going to be a Muslim parade. It could have been a Festivus for the rest of us parade.
There you go.
You know, I mean, you know.
Kwanzaa.
Yeah. What's that? Hane Rama Kwanzmas.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Glenn Beck, somebody came up with a song, Hane Rama Kwanzmas.
Yeah.
But anyway, and that's not what we wanted. So anyway, they said, thank you, but no thank you. So anyway, but yeah, anyway, but David was involved in the first year of the Christmas parade.
Yeah.
And he organized press conference and everything like that. And then for various reasons, we parted ways. He was no longer involved with us. And there were three of us that actually remained and carried it on until eventually it moved downtown again. And then Waste Management took over.
Yep.
And
well, they became the big financial sponsors of it.
Right.
That is their big deal for giving back community.
Right. And we basically essentially just turned it over to them is what happened.
Yep.
Because initially there were, at first, well, I'll tell you what happened. What happened when they decided to change it to the holiday parade, I went down to city council.
Yes.
And decided to ask them, would they ban a Christmas parade if I decided to come up with a Christmas parade? I just decided to.
Yeah, if some other group wants to hold, and I think it has to do with copyright, trademark, because.
No, that wouldn't. No. Listen. Don't interrupt let me just tell it. I went down, stood in front of the city council and said, if I decide to do a Christmas parade next year, will you stop me?
Gotcha.
And the city council at the time said, no, we won't. And so what happened then, I went back on KFAQ and announced that I want to see a Christmas parade. Anyone who wants to join me can. We will have a meeting here tomorrow night, tomorrow evening, and to discuss it. 6 people.
Right. Yeah. See,
join the meeting.
Before, when you first told me the story, where my mind went when you said, are you opposed to somebody else doing a Christmas parade? I was thinking more in you as a record label executive know that you can't, if Petra as a band breaks up or like the Beatles, they wouldn't let somebody else form a band and call themselves the Beatles because it's that trademark. That's where I thought you were going the first time you told me the story.
I see. Yeah, no. I thought they were just wanting to, for some reason, ban a Christmas parade in general.
Okay.
And I wanted to be sure there was nothing like that going on.
Yeah.
And what's funny is right after me, what is his name? Who's the chief of staff for GT right now? He used to own a bunch of restaurants downtown.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. He owns, Ewing. Brent. Is it Blake Ewing?
Blake Ewing. Yeah. Blake Ewing, after I spoke, he taking the other side. And I was just shocked when I found out he went to the same church because he was defending the people who wanted to keep from having the Christmas parade. And I was, are you kidding me? So anyway, yeah, Blake Ewing got out and defended the holiday parade
Yeah.
and not changing it back or
Yeah.
whatever. And so anyway, so those were the two contrary positions. So anyway, so then what happened? So five people showed up there. Among them were he was the old program director at KFAQ.
Gann?
Yeah.
Was it Brian Gann?
Brian Gann,
Yep.
right. It was Brian Gann, Josh McFarland, the late, oh my goodness, my mind is escaping me, all of these people.
Well,
I can't, I'm sorry, I don't want to waste your time. Anyway, I'm trying to gather because this is like now it's, what is it? 10, no, it's 13
well,
years
there was
ago,
another
I think.
insurance guy.
Yeah.
Crouch or
Yeah, man, good. Yeah. Mark Croucher.
Mhm.
Mark Croucher was one.
Mhm.
And then there was
Josh, of course.
well, yeah, Josh, Mark, Brian Gann, and then there were like he's passed away. He used to have a show on KFAQ too.
Yeah.
He was another pastor.
I know who you're talking about. I've never actually met him, but
Yeah, he's the one who actually got me on KFAQ. I'm sorry to take this time because I think this is very important.
Yeah.
So in any event, so what happened then? We got together. Well, as it ended up, the others only showed up for the meeting. Brian Gann said, "Volunteer the station, give me airtime to have all the free publicity and everything that we could get to advertise." And then, of course, and then Mark Croucher and Josh volunteered to help. So in the end, what happened, it ended up being myself, Josh, and Mark Croucher, the three of us, ended up being it. That was in about December. No, I guess it would have been about November of 2010 or 2011. I can't remember back then. So then, so we were planning all that year. Well, that summer, we got Dave
Arnett.
Dave to join us. David Arnett joined us, and he started doing the pre-publicity, informing newspapers. TV held a press conference with the big three, CBS, ABC, NBC,
The TV affiliates.
right? The TV affiliate channel 2, 6, and 8, and 23, I guess too. I always forget them. But anyway, so we did that, and then we went on. Well, after that year, then through various circumstances, David, I think David wanted to make it a profit center, and the rest of us didn't. We didn't want to turn it into a profit entity, profit-making entity, and so he went his way. We kept on doing it, and then all the whole time we basically just wanted it. I never wanted to, have a parade, my name on it or anything. I just always wanted it just to get a parade downtown. That was the whole thing. That was the whole reason I did it and announced it, to do it. And so then Josh had been in touch with the people downtown who were running the holiday parade. And because ours was such a success, theirs essentially died.
Right.
And they were in contact with Josh and said, "Do you want to take it over?" And so finally we took it over, and then Waste Management contacted him.
Yeah.
And
the timing, though, I tell you, so many things just fit just right. We had this new shopping center just opening up called Tulsa Hills. And the layout of Tulsa Hills was perfect for a parade because you got Olympia Avenue goes right down the middle of it. The shopping center at that time wasn't all the way down to 81st because they later built on Sam's Club and all that.
Right.
And now it goes beyond that, right?
Yeah.
Gander Mountains are like it was 84th. But it was a brilliant move for Tulsa Hills. Because right now, Tulsa Hills is massive.
Yeah.
every week.
Yeah.
It's always busy.
It's a great place. It's a great place.
But it demonstrated the insignificant, just that Highway 75 needs to be 4 lanes in each direction.
Oh yeah, because it was crazy. The police, and I've got to give it to TPD because they were so helpful with us and never complained ever. But and Oklahoma Highway Patrol too, because what happened, people couldn't get off of 75,
Right?
So they were parking all the way on the side of Highway 75,
Yes.
going south for about a mile.
Yeah.
The cars were all backed up and they said, forget it. We just stopped, and they just parked their cars and came down the hill. And I mean, and some people just sat up there on top of the hill and just watched it from up there. I mean, it was incredible how many people were the first year and second year, I think. And then the third year, it was just freezing cold. It got so cold that people stayed in their cars and watched the parade go. I can't believe the people in the parade, because I think it was like 2 degrees or 3 degrees out. It was just unbelievably bad.
Yeah. And to me, it was just, you had the passion, that evangelical passion of they're trying to kill the celebration of Christmas as a municipality.
Right.
And you felt like you were on a mission from God to save the parade because it is the banner of Christ, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how,
So, it just was so set up for success in so many ways.
Yeah. And we're glad Waste Management took it back over. And then we had that, what they had. Like I said, I said, once it was, I said, Josh, you guys take it, and boom. And they did. And it was kind of bad because the other Mark, and there were some people behind Mark or with Mark, but they got twisted. What's your friend? What's your buddy? The other writer?
Michael Bates.
No, not in Tulsa. The guy.
Oh, Jameson Fott.
No, you're always talking.
Oh, Al Gerhardt.
Al Gerhardt.
See, I know a lot of bloggers.
Yeah. Well, he wrote this nasty article about it. Oh, Josh McFarland and I stole the Christmas parade from Mark Croucher, and it ended up, it was just this nasty article, and we knew, come on, and like I said, it was just a matter. I put out an invitation for people to come join at the KFAQ to have the meeting, and then we had the meeting, and then next thing I know, it's Mark Croucher's parade, and that. I mean, and David got upset there, for we had a little feud for a while because he felt that he was sliding. I mean, it's so funny how everybody felt like it's our parade, it's my parade. No, it's not. It was supposed to be a Christmas parade. It was for the people's parade. That was the whole deal.
But I gotta say, I kind of, Josh McFarland took it well, but I was upset by one of his posts where he is bad-mouthing the parade faction that stayed with Tulsa Hills. And I just said, Josh, I said, boost your parade, but tearing down somebody else's parade doesn't make your parade any more attractive.
No, his was the Tulsa's. He and I stayed together the whole time.
That's what I'm saying. When he was leading the charge of, hey, look, this downtown Tulsa wants us back. Let's go with that, And then he started some negative things about the people were.
Oh, now I got you. The other ones that.
Yeah, and I had to and Josh took it well. I said, you raise your stature to beat somebody else down.
Well, yeah, but see, I understand, but the reason he did that was because they actually initiated it.
Exactly. I knew he wasn't striking the first blow. I knew he was responding.
Yeah, because they made it look like we stole their parade.
Yeah,
and we didn't steal because Mark was in the meeting where we discussed all this about turning the parade over.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
But why? Because the whole purpose was from the beginning to take it downtown.
I agree with you. what I had said to him, I said, where is it stated in the annals of municipal government that you can only have one Christmas parade in a metro region?
Well, yeah. Well,
why can't we have multiple ones? And people go to the ones they want to go to. Some might go to all of them.
well, no, that's true. That's true. And as you see, what ended up happening, the other one died.
Yes, it
But
did.
see, and that's when they got really mad, because then we got accused of killing their parade ever, but we never tried to kill their parade. We just, you see what I'm saying?
I agree. And the one time where I did see some of that, that's when I addressed Josh McFarland. I said, don't badmouth theirs, just promote yours.
Yeah.
And because then you don't give them any ammunition to say, see, you're sabotaging.
Right. But see, I
us.
think what set Josh off, and it kind of ticked me off, but I didn't bother because I said,
Mhm.
forget it. I don't
Yeah.
care. But was Al Gerhardt's article.
Yes.
He named me and he named Josh as these people who stole this article from Mark, who had done all this work, and he had started this parade. And I'm thinking, these people don't even know the history. And here's the real secret. Okay, here's the real secret.
Mhm.
The guy who did the most work,
Mhm.
worked the hardest on all of those Tulsa Hill
Mhm.
parades. This is a real funny one. Darren Gantz.
Yes.
Darren Gantz, every parade, he organized all of the workers, all of the people. Okay. Now I did the publicity. I worked with the police, things like that, certain logistical big thing. But as far as on the ground, manpower, you be here, and then what's so weird is he was so good. I mean, the man's just, I have to say, Darren Gantz is one of the most organized people I've ever met.
We're fortunate to have him as the deputy county commissioner.
Yeah. And he would sit in this golf cart.
Mhm.
He would just sit in this golf cart at a certain place with his walkie-talkie.
Yep.
Never uptight, never nervous. He'd
Mhm.
call, Darren, this is something. Okay, just doing this. Hold on a second. He so they need this here. There. I mean, just the coolest, calmest person.
Yep.
And he would just make that parade run smoothly. And the rest of us would, Eddie, can you do this? I would run, and Mark, can you do this? Josh, can you, but when it came parade day, everything turned over to Darren.
Well-oiled machine.
And Aaron was the general. He ran that. So, I mean, I've got to give recognition, because parade day, we did like the different organizing, in advance, but on the day, it was Darren Gantz all the way.
I want to say something really redemptive, very important. It's Christmas, and so maybe that's even better reason to say this. You and Darren were on opposite sides of that fact when it kind of fractured. But you...
Yeah. Actually, Darren, I never against Darren. I mean, I didn't even know he was on. No, actually, he had split from them, but he was friends, I guess, with one of the people who was involved in that.
He's also very good friends with Al Gerhardt.
Oh, really? Okay. See, I didn't even know. All right.
Sorry, Darren.
I take back everything good I said.
No, but here's the other thing. David, Arnett, and we've gone to blows.
Right. But
Dave
and I, we didn't speak for a few years.
So here's the thing, and Gerhardt and I joke about this a lot. Don't let people live rent free in your head.
Right.
You got to let go of things and move on.
Yeah.
And find opportunities. Listen, trust is something that needs to be earned, but you can at least be of a mindset that you're open to letting somebody rebuild that trust if they've taken it, if they've lost trust.
Yeah. No, you're right. That's what you have to do. And like I said,
because it's a very isolated life without that.
Yeah. There's one scripture that, or it's not scripture actually. Yeah, people just say it all the time about with your sin, he casts it into a sea of forgetfulness. Yeah. It's not actually a scripture, but it works. Mm-hmm. And I've learned, like with me, people always talk about forgetting. forgiving,
Mhm.
you know. And I'm not a person that forgives easily, but I forget.
Oh.
And one day God just showed me how it's better to forget than to forgive. Because when you forget, the forgiveness comes in the forgetting. But you can forgive and not forget. See, it's better to forget than it is to forgive. Because you can forgive today, but then your mind will bring it back up again. There's people who forgive, but they don't forget. When I forgive you, but there's a little thing, kernel in your mind, just waiting for you to let them down again. But if you forget they ever offended you in the first place, you have no fear of them offending you again.
Yeah.
Because you don't remember the offense in the first place. And that's kind of how I've been. So I honestly, I don't carry around offense. So for example, anything that David or for example, Mark Croucher, I'm naming names and I don't care. They're friends. You know, he was busy, you know, with the other group that
Right. Yeah.
and they were upset and they did all these things. Well, he and I are still good friends now.
Yeah.
And he's a client of mine. I mean, he came back, he comes to me for insurance, sends me customers, and we go down and shoot the breeze all the time. You know, Dave and I, Arnett and I are, you know, I won't even, I have people from many years ago that we had issues. I actually do not remember what the issue was. My wife and I, like we may be just mad as anything, have knocked down, drag out one day, and I'll go to bed, go to bed and wake up, and I honestly, no joke, the next day cannot remember what it was that I was so upset about, or what we got into it about.
Yeah,
and I think that's better than me saying, "Well, I forgive you for leaving the garage open," or "I forgive you for not taking the garbage out," or forgive you for not doing this or that, you know, on both sides. Because, you know, if I just forgive you, then, man, I bet you she left that garage door open again, or I bet you that, or then she's thinking, I bet he didn't do the dishes or take the garbage out or something like that, you know. And so, you know what I'm saying? I hope this makes sense to you all, but let's just put it this way. It really works in my life that the forgetting, that if you can forget and let's just put it this way. If you can ask God to help you forget versus forgive, I think you'll be a lot further along, because it's easy to say, I forgive you, but you hold on to it back in the back of your mind, and you're waiting for the next time for them to offend you again. So
to me, separating trust from forgiveness is so important, because there's some people that you've got to readjust your expectations, whether or not you can trust them. But that should not stop you from forgiving them. You know, if they've let you down, if they've offended you, if they've done you harm, you know, you have to forgive them because it frees you. But you're not doing them a favor by enticing them to abuse you further, you know, by extending trust where it isn't earned. In fact, it's been, you know, violated.
Right. But see, if I forgive you, but I haven't really forgotten it, then I don't trust you.
You know, some people have better memories than others, Eddie. And by whatever tools God helps you to get past something, great. But I've got a pretty good memory. I remember a lot of things. The fact that I can remember something does not mean I haven't forgiven it. I mean,
it's just, I have to constantly adjust my expectations of others. And that's the best way to avoid hurt. You know? Eddie, if it's working for you, stay with it, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's hard to do, because if I'm constantly having to adjust my expectations and stuff, it's a lot harder than just, forgetting about it. And if they do it again, then I just have to, and eventually have to say, hey, look, I'm sorry, but I've given you your 3 strikes, and I'm sorry, you're out. And that's it. Because I can't trust you. I don't think I can forgive it again or forget it again. I've forgotten it the last 2 times, but this time I don't know if I can forget it again. You know what I'm saying? That's just kind of Anyway, moving on. Hey, listen, I just see I've wondered for some time about J.D. Vance and who's going to replace him as the new senator from Ohio.
Okay.
It's a lieutenant governor of Ohio, John Husted, and he's believed to be the top cabinet, and he's going to replace him. He's a top candidate in recent days, and he and Governor Mike DeWine, DeWine, not Divine. He's not quite, he's DeWine, not Divine. But anyway, they just visited Mar-a-Lago together. But it's believed that DeWine will replace JD with him until the next election. So we'll see. State law dictates that DeWine will select a Republican to take Vance's spot in the Senate until special election is held in 2026. It's interesting that basically he's going to be there 2 years before
the completion of the term, I believe.
Well, no, it's a special election.
Special election. Okay. See, every state gets to pick their own means.
Rules. I know. It's kind of weird that, but that almost doesn't seem like a special election.
In fact, we realized that when, what's his name? Tom Coburn, retired or resigned. We didn't have a means of putting an interim replacement in to represent us in the U.S. Senate, where other states did have that. They named his widow, Muriel Humphrey, term initially. In fact, I remember Wendell Anderson, the governor, when Mondale, again, U.S. Senator, becomes vice president, Wendell Anderson appointed himself. And as a result, the people just thought that's so un-Minnesotan that they replaced him with, I think it was Rudy Perpich. And Republicans end up taking both those spots. So, every state has that means. And Oklahoma recently worked on legislation, whereas it was not just the governor making an appointment, but the House, the Senate, the Oklahoma House, Oklahoma Senate, and the governor kind of shared that.
Really? Yeah. See, so the Oklahoma legislature further takes power from the governor.
Oh, yeah.
That's the moral.
We are a weak governor system. Very weak governor.
Yeah, we see that.
So the last bill I read on it, I don't know if it became law, it's that the Speaker of the House got to a panel committee that selected a group of candidates, nominees, or basically, and then the governor would pick one. But then
that's how it is now.
This was the legislation I was looking at. I don't know.
Oh, this is the new legislation
they were looking at.
Yeah.
This is a couple of years ago, and then they would have to be confirmed by the state Senate, which gives the Senate pro temp power to veto the governor. There was just so much power hungriness between the Speaker of the House, Senate President.
Wait, is this the old rule or the new rule?
This was the legislation a couple of years ago they were floating.
Okay.
And they had to kiss everybody's ring.
So there's a new one now, new proposal.
I don't know whether that became law or not, but I know the important thing, the impetus was we can't go 4 or 6 months without having representation.
Yeah, just let the governor do it, and then until the next session, next election, and then appoint. Let the people decide on a new one.
And then here's the next thing, because you remember, T.W. Shannon was Speaker of the House when Coburn stepped out. Shannon put his own hat in the ring because he wanted that.
Right.
Well, if the governor gets to pick somebody, then if the speaker wants to run, you're giving incumbency to the governor's handpicked guy. So one of the rules they proposed in it was whoever gets appointed to this is barred from running for a full term. So it's ridiculous stuff. But the most important thing is we've got to have both our votes there in the U.S. Senate.
Yes. Oh, by the way, which reminds me, speaking of governor, yesterday an announcement was made. I was at a breakfast yesterday morning, a Republican breakfast, very important group of people. It was co-ed, it wasn't just men, but it was announced that former state senator Mike Mazie will be running for governor.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm thankful because heretofore you only had one Republican in name, at least, Reina. In name, at least. We don't know whether he's truly a Republican or not by his behavior. Our Attorney General was, we know he's planning on running for governor. And but now we have someone else that I know we can truly count on and trust, that is a bona fide conservative Republican who will do right. So just something for you guys to know and to be praying about and to be getting the word out early. And I hope that you might support former state senator Mike Mazie, from Tulsa. So that's a little bit of news for us.
Yes. By the way, I just looked it up. The Oklahoma Senate, it did become law, but the governor gets to appoint as long as that person cannot run. So the temporary position could be for up to 2 years because they don't want to have them replaced by a special election just called whenever the governor wants. It has to coincide with the general election in even numbered years, November election. See, because they don't want this being decided in April, at some, thing like that. So, yeah, it's got to be somebody, kind of becomes a ceremonial thing, just finishing up that term and you cannot run. Well, what if people really want him to run? See, we're borrowing them from that. So, and I think it would have to be challenged also in the U.S. Supreme Court, whether or not the state can make such prohibitions. Because this law says they have to be so many years a resident and registered voter and all that. And that's actually, the states are barred from putting those restrictions on.
Really?
Yeah. For instance, Eddie, when you ran for city council, you had to be a resident of the district you're running for, right?
Right.
If you were running for Congress, Kevin Hearn's seat, you don't have to be.
Oh, wow.
Because the state doesn't get to dictate the terms for candidacy. The Congress does. See?
So somebody could come from Arizona and run for Congress in Oklahoma.
Oh, we had that happen. Tom Cole was challenged by a millionaire from Dallas. And our friend David D'Ambroso was his campaign manager. And David was asking me, what do you think? I said, move up here and run in a couple years. Don't run now. And Tom Cole destroyed him.
Well, yeah, I
politically.
mean, yeah, that's hard to do.
You know, because it's carpetbagger.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what you get
sure.
labeled
Yeah,
as.
that's
You know, and but D'Ambroso actually ran some congressional campaigns in Florida, and he was the one who told me in Florida to be a congressman, you don't have to live in the district.
Yeah. Only you would call them a Kroger bagger.
Okay.
They don't use carpet bags anyway. Hey, by the way, I've known about this for a while, and she was just here at the Republican banquet about a week ago, I guess it was, or was it this last week? Anyway, Winsome Sears, the vice governor or lieutenant governor of Virginia,
Yes,
is now running for governor in Virginia.
Okay.
And she would be the first Black female governor in America.
Sharp lady.
It would be history, right? Yeah.
She's an amazing woman.
Yeah, she's pretty sharp. And anyway, that's something on the
so Glenn
horizon.
Youngkin's, has he served 2 terms?
This would be, I think so. Oh, yeah, this would be his.
Because, you see, they're one of the states that runs for governor the year after the presidential election.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Them, New Jersey, and I think
he first
California.
won in 18, I guess. And so
I think it was
no, it must have been what?
In fall of 17.
Was it the okay, so it's 17 to 21 and then to 25. Yeah. So so he is in his second term.
So in California is another one that runs that year after. So
they must not have term limits there, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Newsom's not running.
Newsom,
Kamala is running.
I know, but it seems like Newsom has been there forever. That's why I say they mustn't have term limits, because they surely should have gotten rid of him by now, you know.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what's going on there. Hey, we, up a little further north in your old stomping grounds, Wedgeburg, halfway between Hanover and
Germany,
and Berlin.
a little further.
Yeah,
I was just going
is where this terrible terrorism act
was.
was.
Yeah,
and it was a physician originally from Saudi Arabia by way of Syria, I'm told. 50 years old, had been in Germany for like 18 years. And he plowed through at high speed through this Christmas market, which is kind of an open pavilion, open air market just for Christmas season.
Yeah, Christkindl market.
Yeah.
It's a Christmas market. They have them in all the big cities.
Oh, yeah. Chicago's got a couple of them. They're awesome. My daughter, when she goes to Chicago, in fact, she told me, I wish I was going up there this year, loves it. There's just amazing stuff. So anyway, there it is. It's happening again, and is it an attack on Christianity? Well, it's not. Then you tell me what is it?
Right.
People shopping at a religious-based market.
Right, but apparently or allegedly, he's not a Muslim.
No, you're right about socialist and seems to be very anti-plurally.
Right.
But just a couple of days earlier, a huge march of pretty passionate Muslims protested that market and went marching through there. And it was seen as a very hostile, in-your-face thing. Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen. I just know the globalists generally throughout Europe are in trouble, and because it's this open
border
immigration stuff. And in fact, I saw written on a concrete barricade that was quickly put up around this market, somebody spray painted Danke Merkel. Thank you, Angela. And because this kind of in your face, going to take people who hate our culture, and we're going to bring them in mass.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, the town is Magdeburg.
Okay.
Magdeburg or Magdeburg, but Bech.
Yeah.
Is that Magdeburg? But anyway, it was Friday, and 5 dead and 200 injured. And it's amazing that only 5 died if he ran through and hit that many people.
Yeah.
205 people hit and run over by this mad car. I mean, that's just for drivers, man. I don't know,
He made it through the crowd and took off. He had a contingency in case he had a bomb in his car. So, yeah, the bomb never did go off.
No. So you have to wonder, though, he says he's not a Muslim, that he's a socialist or whatever, but you have to wonder if there's not some underlying that maybe he was a Muslim, but he didn't want to admit it to give them a bad name or something. You know what I mean? Because it just seems
disinformation.
Seems a little suspicious. It just doesn't seem right. Doesn't fit the narrative.
Yeah, but evidently, France is Macron is basically hanging on by a thread.
Well, he should be.
Yeah, of course, our friends in Holland. It's a massive nationalist conservative movement. Of course, you've already got Viktor Orban, and he is more popular than ever in Hungary. In Italy, you've got a very strong conservative. And now Nigel Farage is polling very high for the next parliamentary election.
Well, yeah, England needs to, the people need to just revolt in the whole United Kingdom.
The whole socialist movement, the labor movement, is people are massive voter regrets, buyer's remorse, if you will. And Nigel Farage's Reform Party is polling higher than the Conservative Party, the Tories.
Well, the Conservative Party isn't really conservative anymore.
Right.
That'd be like the Rhino Party here in America. You would kind of be that.
So I think we may be looking at a massive global movement back to nationalism and really putting the last nail in the coffin of globalism. Yeah.
It appears that Turkey is mobilizing for another mass full-blown war against the Kurds in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
What you know about the whole, speaking of massacres, the what do they call them? When you kill a whole race, genocide against the Kurdish people back at the beginning of the 20th century.
My dad talked about that. He said fighting in Korea, there were UN forces. He said the Kurds were the most bloodthirsty soldiers, fighters. And he said, them and the Armenians.
Yeah, the Armenians. That's right. It was the Armenians that the Turkish Armenians, the Turks wiped out 1 million of the Armenians way back at the turn of the century. It was way back at I
sense a theme here, Eddie. Tribalism.
It is. It's tribalism. As I point out in my book, that I like to say, there's no such thing as racism. Mm-hmm. It's tribalism.
Yeah.
And race is just an identifier.
It's
easier to, for example, in Europe, right, before they ever knew there was such a thing as a black person, you had tribalism.
Sure.
In Africa, before they knew there was such a thing as a white person, tribalism, man against man, tribe against tribe, family, the Hatfields and the McCoys. The Hatfields and McCoys, I think they were distant cousins even, but they were killing each other. The difference between black, white, Hispanic, brown, yellow, whatever, it's the fact that I think we've discussed this, that if I'm a poor white person but I'm a smart person, I can educate myself, work on myself, move to another town or another state, and then blend in, reinvent myself,
Yeah.
and I'm no longer low class.
Yep.
I am now a new person, and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
If I'm Black, Mexican,
Mhm.
of a darker pigment,
Mhm.
Asian, you name it, Indian, East Indian, I can't do that.
Mhm.
I mean, I can speak as proper English as I want, whatever. But now here's what's weird, though. Okay, here's what's really funny. A VJ Singe, I've talked about this. VJ Singe is about one shade lighter than this microphone pad here, okay? VJ Singe is dark, black.
Mhm.
But VJ Singe is well accepted, well thought of, can easily move through any place in the world.
Yeah.
It's not his skin color.
No.
He's Fijian.
Yes.
He's known as a Fijian. He's not
South
known as
Pacific Islander.
right. He's not Black.
Mhm.
So what does that tell you when a light-skinned Black person can be discriminated against, but the black Fijian, black African, Moms Mabley, the comedian, used to talk about this in one of her comedy albums. This is in the 60s, early 60s.
Who is it?
Moms Mabley. You don't know Moms Mabley?
No.
Oh, look her up. Go,
Okay.
You'll listen to one of,
Yeah.
she was hilarious, but
Okay.
old Black lady, didn't have teeth,
Mhm.
just comedian. But anyway, she would talk about this, how an African king could come to America with a harem with white wives, and the hotels would take care of him. But
Mhm.
if he was, just a plain old Black person from Tupelo,
Mhm.
Mississippi.
Is that her?
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
He would he wouldn't be served, But oh no, we talked about it many times. What was his name?
Larry Holmes?
Larry Holmes.
Yeah.
He said, if you Black and you rich, you Black and you got money, you ain't Black.
Yeah.
Right. So it is funny how that works. But anyway,
Well, Tiger Woods is South Pacific, right?
yeah, he calls it with Ablasian
Mhm.
or something. He calls it some weird name I've
Mhm.
never heard of. But yeah, well, he's got Black. His dad was Black, but his mom was
South Pacific.
South Pacific.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It's Northeast, South Pacific. I mean, whatever.
That's a catch-all phrase. For
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
simple.
throw them all in there. Hawaiians, Fijians,
Yeah.
Tongans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't throw the
Samoa.
Filipinos in there. We won't have them.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I like using the word tribalism
Mm-hmm.
because, this uppity Jewish family that attacked you, calling you anti-Semitic, you were calling out racism, and you're defending and supporting a guy who was really being
Kanye.
screwed over. Kanye was getting screwed over by some people, happened to be Jewish, and Kanye claimed that they were racially motivated. And funny,
I see what
you're
saying.
the racist because you're calling out racism.
Against.
Oh, but if it's Jewish, saying Jewish can't be racist.
Yeah.
I remember Rush
Yeah,
Limbaugh
who-
talking
who-
about
who's-
it. There's Black leaders who think it's impossible for a Black to be a racist.
Oh, I know.
Because they're not empowered to.
Right. Exactly. No, that is true. That is true. That they
Racism is an attitude of the heart.
Yeah.
Whether you have the power to invoke it or not.
Well, that's why I talk about it here. There's no such thing as racism.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as racism. It's a class of individual.
Yeah.
Okay. And in Colossians, Paul
Mhm.
says there's neither Jew nor Greek, nor right, Scythian or whatever. All he names a list of group, but no, there's it's up here.
Yeah, it's sectarian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily based on color, skin, or nationality or where you live. Sometimes it's economics.
And people are just stupid wherever you go. I remember when we first went to Uganda and
Mhm.
we're meeting with them, and and they're bragging about their wives. Guys talking about how, yeah, I married a yellow one or a light one or this one, and we're looking, and to me, my wife even commented that the Senegalese, the ones from Senegal or from Sudan, these young girls had the most beautiful features that you'd ever seen. And yet this guy's worried about, the light-skinned women, his wife being a lighter-skinned African Ugandan woman. And I'm thinking, well, okay, but these girls are a lot prettier. I know, bad Eddie, but no, I mean, my wife agreed. I mean, everybody agreed, it's beauty in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
And it's prejudice in the eye of the beholder.
Sure.
That's why you have, the other, Belgians and Dutch people.
Now be careful.
I say Aggies and Longhorns,
Yes.
Arkansans,
there you go.
Texans and Arkansans and Oklahomans, Arkansans and Mississippians, and Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. You can always find something that you pick on.
Yeah.
Right. And as I always said, color is just an identifier. It's you can't escape your color. That's the that's the whole thing that makes racism is the fact that they can't escape their color. If you don't have it in the Black community, it's come back again on the college campuses and different places. The sororities among women, you have certain sororities that only accept women of a higher shade. Okay.
Yep.
And the other sororities.
That can't be racism. No, because they're Black.
Because they're Black. As you said, the lady told you can't be racist, right?
Yeah. Rush Limbaugh.
Stupid people.
Back in the early 90s, Jeff Foxworthy became all the rage with his You Might Be a Redneck series of, comedy. And Rush Limbaugh was playing some and just cracking up. He says, what's so great about the redneck jokes? You can get away with it because nobody claims to be a redneck. Nobody wants to be here. And so you can pick on rednecks.
That's true.
There is a Black version of redneck. It's called ghetto.
Yeah, that's true. The ghetto jokes. Yeah. So it's crazy. But
I remember when for a few years we were part of a homeschool group, and our daughter was over at this other house, mixed race house, and there was a Black daughter complains to mom. She says, "Oh, Mom, we are so ghetto." And she says, "What?" She says, "We've got a disconnect electric bill sitting on the TV." I always got money for the
So now we know why your daughter ended up marrying a Black guy. Her go-to mixed couples homes.
Yeah.
You raised her poorly, as some would say.
Yeah.
Hey, I was just going over.
Should she have visited your house, Eddie?
No, she would have really been messed up if she'd have been.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, just quickly, some football scores.
Yeah.
Penn State is killing SMU.
Yeah.
It's making it 31-3.
Wow.
Yeah, it's making it look like SMU should not have been there. See, that's what a lot of people.
They had a run. Now, Notre Dame last night just clobbered Indiana.
Yep, that's another one. Exactly. So I guess those are the only two games so far.
But, what they have in common there? Home teams. See, those play ground is somebody's home team get in their own stadium.
Mm-hmm.
That's an impacting factor, especially in playoffs.
Right.
So,
yeah, we'll see. Because the next game is going to be Clemson at Texas tonight. So we'll see if Clemson has rebounded. That would be a nice upset. Depend on who you're for, but if Clemson Clemson's number 12, just above SMU.
Yeah, they barely made it in.
Yeah, and if they beat Texas, which is number 5, and then of course the final game today will be Tennessee at Ohio State.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and then all the rest after this, they're utilizing the bowl system for their games.
Well, no, it's still not quite because before. I see what you're saying. It'll yeah, but it's still going to be a playoff games.
Yes, I'm saying, but it'll be a neutral field
Right
after this weekend.
Right. So
like Oregon's going to be playing at the Rose Bowl.
Right. I see what you're saying. Right. Mm-hmm.
And to me, Eddie, this makes all of the other bowl games really not that much interesting.
I know it's
it's really defeating the bowl system, which I'm kind of okay with getting rid of the old bowl system.
Well, some of the bowls are ridiculous. I mean, the Sarsaparilla Bowl.
Oh, it's shameless.
Sarsaparilla. I don't even know what
Duke's Mayo.
Yeah, Duke's Mayo. I don't know what is sarsaparilla anyway. I mean, come on. Yeah, it's just why don't you just say more money bowl? Yeah. I mean that's
yeah. The All-State Big 12. It's all a grab for money.
It is.
In fact, I was looking at a. ESPN had an article, the most valuable university sports franchises, and Ohio State's number one. According to this, I was looking at actually OU made it, I think, top 10 or 12. 12.
Yeah, I just saw. Oh, speaking of that, there was it you telling me about Florida? The Panthers?
That same series of articles, the most valuable NHL franchises.
And you were saying that the Panthers aren't worth much.
Well, they're a startup. Yeah, they're not worth much. They just happen to be the Stanley Cup champions.
Right.
But they're new.
And they're in first place still. Again this year. But yeah.
But the Toronto Maple Leafs, Montreal, New York Rangers, Boston Bruins.
Well, it's all the old
they have history.
Stalwarts.
Yes, they have history.
But none of them have won in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's so weird. Those teams have not won in a while. But
I know.
But they're established in a because it's so funny. Nashville has won it a few times recently. In the last.
Wasn't it Las Vegas last time?
No, last year was the Panthers.
No, before that.
Before that was Las Vegas.
Las Vegas,
right?
Yeah.
And then who else? I know Nashville's won it recently. I don't know who else. Maybe. I
don't think Dallas has, have they?
The Stars, I think, have won it at some point. They have won it, which was the old Minnesota North Stars.
Yeah. I was a huge North Star fan.
And the new name is just, I hate to say, but it's just the Wild.
Oh, I know.
That's just a terrible name.
They've just gone leftist. You can't call themselves
you have the LA Kings, and then the Anaheim Ducks.
Mm-hmm.
All of those Southern supposed to have hockey.
Yeah.
But these guys in the North still, its problem is football is king down south.
Yeah.
And hockey is still
but I tell you what,
up north.
Where do you recruit players from? The North.
Yeah. And Canada.
Yeah.
And Europe.
Yeah. I mean, Minnesota's huge for high school hockey.
Yeah.
Dakota's somewhat are. Michigan's huge. And Massachusetts, high school hockey, Massachusetts is huge. So in Pennsylvania.
Well, the Panthers, half their team is from either Finland, Sweden.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Or Canada.
The European.
Right.
Yeah.
Or Canada. It's Canadians in Europe, in Scandinavians.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's funny they have one guy, he's what is it? Rodriguez. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
His name's Rodriguez. And but where's he from?
Well, he's got to be down south.
Canada.
Is that right?
It's so funny. We went there last year for Christmas, and they had a family day, and so we went into their beautiful new practice offices and practice facility, and we look out, and they got the family skate. Everybody's out there, and we look, and Rodriguez he has like a 3-year-old, and the guy's got a full hockey uniform on, helmet, pads, everything. And this little kid is out there skating, just skating away with the stick, doing it, and the kid's 3 years old.
Yeah.
You know, here I am, and I can't ice skate. You know, much less do, you know.
No, when I was 10 years old, I had a miniature hockey rink in my backyard.
Wow.
My dad would just hook up the garden hose coming out of the basement and just hose down. After about a week, we've got about 3 inches of ice. And, you know, the kids in the neighborhood come over. This is before the North End Playground got a hockey rink. And I always got to be a starter on the team because it's my house, my yard. But it was a popular thing for kids to come over.
Yeah, it's like football here.
Yeah. But, you know, you can't do that in Oklahoma.
No.
It costs you big bucks to put a rink in.
Oh, yeah. You'd have to get a freezer, you know, under the ice, freezing coils.
Right.
And all that kind of stuff.
And so, anyway.
Hey, NFL-wise, so the Chiefs are playing Houston tomorrow. And
no, they're halftime right now.
Oh, are they playing today?
Yeah, there's Saturday games today.
And they're playing while the NCAA playoffs are going on. Oh, really? What's the score at halftime?
It's 17-10 Chiefs.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Couple of good teams.
Well, we better wrap it up so I can get home for the second half.
Yeah. So,
see the chefs.
Anyway, government didn't shut down. I watched it last night, and interesting, they went past midnight because they wanted to take care of all this other bill. You know, Trump was so proud at all the federal judgeships that he and McConnell worked together on. Do you know Biden beat Trump's record? Massive number of federal judges now. Federal judges are Biden appointees. So if you get hauled into federal courts, you're likely to have a Biden appointed judge.
The only good news is that once they hit the appellate court, you've got a Trump judge.
Yeah. So we got that going on. They just changed the law on Social Security so that people that have a municipal pension fund, they used to exclude that pension money from your equations to figure out your Social Security. And so now it's what used to be called double dipping. It doesn't affect your Social Security, the fact that you're getting municipal retirement pension. That just passed last night. And they said on its current trajectory, Social Security will go broke in 9 years. Passing this says now it's going to go broke half a year earlier than it was. And so,
well, we'll see if Vivek and Elon can.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you were talking about who they're likely to put in as a new Ohio U.S. Senator. Vivek was one of the early names. Vivek turned it down. He feels like what he and Elon are doing is.
Oh, yeah. If people listen to these guys, I think we'll come out ahead.
You know, the most hated person in Washington right now is Elon Musk. He is being blamed as though Trump now works for Elon.
Yeah, that's what they're showing.
Yes.
That Elon was driving the car and Trump was in the passenger seat. Yeah, I mean, people are so stupid, you know. I mean, listen, you know, Elon has got enough stuff to do, and the guy's brilliant. Did you see, I was watching the video early this morning when I woke up. They just blasted another rocket into space. And I don't know if you've seen the videos earlier of his rockets coming back. He has the reusable ones.
Right. He's got the chopsticks is what he calls it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it shows it goes, and then it has a separation showing the main rocket taking up, but the booster comes back down to Earth, and it's just falling away, you know, and all of a sudden it hits a certain altitude, and then the rockets come back on, and then, which is weird because it's gone down range and everything, up and down, but all of a sudden it comes out, and then you see it, and here's the launch pad, and it comes, and it all of a sudden this.
Then it goes like that.
Yeah, it's got the thing, and it grabs it, and it holds it, you know, catches it like that, you know.
Yeah.
And but it's just so weird that he's able to his people, and it shows this room, the control room where they're just cheering and yelling and screaming, you know, at the success of it. And then the other part, I guess another part, the second part is lands in the ocean downrange or something. But I mean, just to think of being able to do that is just phenomenal. But he saves millions and millions of dollars by being able to reuse the booster.
Yeah, he had one recently that something went wrong and they had to go ahead and let it land in the ocean. But he's, you know, Trump during the last few weeks of the campaign was talking about Elon and what he's able to do with that. And he said he called Elon and said, who all does that? He says, I'm the only one who successfully deployed this. You know, this is what privatizing does.
Yeah.
When you have profit incentive, you know, now all of a sudden people are willing to do things because it saves them money.
The only thing I wish is that he would get some better designers for his cars.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah, they're all the same.
Well, except the Cybertruck's very different.
And that's ugly.
I think it's ugly.
It's very ugly.
It was going to be built here in Tulsa almost.
Yeah, but now the good news about the ugly Cybertruck is that future models can't be any uglier.
That's true. Yeah.
You can only improve on the design. So that's the good news. But they've got to do something with these with his cars too, because they're all, I mean, my son has, and my daughter, but they have a Tesla, and I've ridden in it, and they're very nice. They're quiet, and you know, and it, of course, the screens, you know, it has giant 24-inch, I almost want to say 24-inch television or something, you know, that you can watch. It's probably 19. I wouldn't exaggerate, but man, you know, and it's just phenomenal, you know.
Well, I saw a Cybertruck driving through Tulsa a few weeks ago.
I saw one too, yeah.
And he really pitches them as durable. In fact, last year he was in talking to Joe Rogan about, you know, the Cybertruck and getting it going. And he had driven one to the studio, and his back of a warehouse, they pulled in the garage. And he said, no, he says, if you really want to be armored, we just can't roll the windows down. We can make it armored, but we just can't. And he said, you know, and Joe's question, he says, really? He says, I got a pretty high powered compound bow that I shoot elk with. And he's tried out. So they brought the cameras out there, and from about 30 feet away, he's pulled all the way back, bam, didn't even dent the door. It bounced right off of it.
How about the window?
No, he didn't. He shot the door. Yeah. That was the only thing they showed, shooting the door.
Because, you know, when they first came out and they was having this big show to introduce it.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? And they took it and hit it, and it shattered the window.
Well, they do. In fact, somebody saw one and on the road and videotaped it. It wasn't supposed to get out there. But you shoot up bulletproof glass, it will just, you know, shatter, but it stays together.
No, this didn't even stay together.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It was a total failure. The test was a failure of the public. But this was way back, the very first unveiling, and they were showing, and it didn't work out how they planned on it. But this is like 5-6 years ago. I can't remember however they first came out with it.
I saw this video. I think it was on, I don't know, either Facebook or X, where they're driving and it was shot up, but it was still driving.
Yeah. But they could really use some design help. But,
you know, comparing it to all the other electric vehicles out there, far nicer. I mean, for the last 10 years that we've had electric vehicles out there, I mean, the Chevy Volt, really?
Oh, yeah. Well, but you know who's doing a good job? Polaris. I saw a new Polaris sometime, probably a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper, and it looks really nice.
Yeah.
The designers they've worked on the design, and it's a prettier looking to me.
Polaris, going back 60, 70 years ago, is a top name in snowmobiles, or snow machines, as the Alaskans call them. And then they went into off-road, you know, big old Tiger kind of, you know, hunters, ranchers would use Polaris vehicles. In fact, the guy that the sheriff in Pittsburgh County down there in McAllister,
Mm-hmm.
he's facing state felonies for he bought some other brand, and his crime was selling it back, his personal vehicle, and having them sell that to the county as a brand new vehicle. And he said it's a lemon, but it was so that he could get a refund and buy a Polaris. So Polaris it's kind of like Honda, they started out as a motorcycle company. Now they're vacuums, TVs, cars, everything, So anyway, other than that, news wise, Trump's still doing well. I think globalism is really taking a hit. Trump on the world stage, he's really regarded. The thing people are afraid of right now is Biden has never been so diminished. What would we do if we really had a crisis in the next month?
Yeah, well, see, that's my problem. To me, time is just going so slow to get Trump in office and Biden out, because, with something we didn't cover is Biden's trying to sell the wall, all the pieces to the wall for 5 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
And that's insane. Taxpayers' money that we spent millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on, and he wants to just give it away as another to the Trump administration.
Well, he's destroying the budget.
Right. That's what he's
it's
trying
sabotage,
to do. Right.
Yeah.
That is exactly right.
But Biden himself is not doing it. It's Mayorkas.
Well, Marcus said
he's working for him. Yeah.
It's a whole team.
To me, this is criminal.
Oh, sure it is. Sure it is.
And
but everything they're doing is that way. And I just wish and hope that after it's done, Mayorkas might be arrested and charged and put away for some of the criminal acts that he has committed.
Yes.
And not only him, but everybody, and as treasonous acts.
Yeah.
I mean, I would put them under treason, because these are truly acts against the nation.
Yeah. If you haven't read Kash Patel's book, Government Gangsters, and you're a leftist, I highly recommend you buy it and read it, because if he wrote about you, he's coming after you. I mean, he is going to clean up. I really believe Kash Patel will do that.
Well, good.
So I think there's just so many good things happening. Haven't heard anything more about these drones, but what we are seeing is the FAA cracking in. Now you can't fly a drone if you live in lower New York.
Are those things still above? They're in where's it, Ohio, where they're finding them?
They're finding them all over, but
in New Jersey, I guess.
Some people are saying they were stoking the people to fear so the government could crack down and make more regulations on them. Because right now you can fly a drone up to 400 feet altitude. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, you might be getting in the way of air traffic, but now it's just ridiculous stuff, so I don't know. Anyway,
all right.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas. We will not be here next week.
Yeah.
Dave has family functions.
Yeah.
I have family functions.
Yep.
My daughter's in town with my 2 granddaughters, 2 of my 3 granddaughters.
Nice.
I now have 3 granddaughters and 2 grandsons. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, the 2 grandsons, one of them is not here. So the 2 granddaughters and the newest, the little bitty baby, mm-hmm. Are here, and the one grandson and other granddaughter is still in California. But we saw them for Thanksgiving, so we're thankful.
You've got one grandson who's a native Oklahoman, right?
Yes.
Born here.
Right.
Yep. The rest were born other places, right?
Yes. Yeah, Californians. They're mm-hmm. Californians.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Excited for the new year, Eddie. really excited.
Well, good.
And I just think,
Yeah, and I think we've invited Dave Arnett to be a regular, to come in, say, once a month, and we may start doing that with different people and try to get a monthly update with different people and see what we can do for the new year. Okay. Hey, God bless everybody. Merry Christmas to you. Okay. Take care, and we will see you next year.
Looks like stormy weather forever, and they'll never see the light of day. Paul and Silas kept on singing, believe their deliverer was on the way, for they